trying to design a front cover for a book that I'm being silent and mysterious about, but yeah, sometimes like when I have to do book covers, I have no idea about what I have to do. So I'm just doing some, I know I like to do this, like just some mark making with paints or anything really that I fancy, and I'm using watercolour today, but sometimes I like to just make random marks, just find an atmosphere or a tone or a style, or I don't know, just be creative a little bit without putting too much pressure on myself or being a perfectionist. So it's kind of fun, and it's something nice to do, like especially today I'm just feeling so drained. So I don't know, it's kind of nice to do, it's kind of relaxing. But yeah, I'm not overthinking it, I'm just making marks, making shapes, whilst thinking about the text that I'm doing a front cover for, and just really experiment, not put pressure on it, not judge myself for what I'm drawing or creating. And yeah, sometimes it's like the best way to approach a design project, really, to be honest. The premise of the piece that I'm trying to do the front cover for is about a woman on a bicycle. So I decided that the shape I'm going to kind of stick with is kind of a wheel shape or a circle with lines through it. So again, I'm just sort of doing some mark making with watercolours and pencils and using a compass. But yeah, I don't know where this is going. I'm just going to like keep making as many until I feel like I'm done. But it's really relaxing, and mark making I think is just a really good way if you're like having a creative block, or you're having, I don't know, you feel like you want to break through, and you just start feeling a bit predictable, or I don't know, I can't explain, but you just start feeling a bit predictable or samey when you're kind of drawing. And so sometimes just to let go of those expectations of yourself are good, and mark making is like the best way to do it for me. And I love watercolour because it let me zoom in. So I love watercolour because it's unpredictable, and you just follow the water, and so you sort of have to literally go with the flow of the water and see what happens. Just got an order, just unpacking this. Oh, sorry, it's really heavy. I ordered air sign by No, to the pamphlet for that is going to be, we were getting the front cover letterpress, just to add a nice texture because it's quite simple, the front cover, so it's nice, like, oh, it's really nice. Can I make that focus a bit better? You can see it's got like an indent. Oh, it looks really good. Slightly comes through the back as well. I really like that. It looks great. First time I've ever got anything professionally letterpressed, which Wasn't too expensive. I'm going to link this place to, I think it was £90 for 80 covers, which is really decent for a letterpress. Yeah, for a letterpress. I'll link them. They're called Glasgow Printers, based in Glasgow, but really, really nice people, and really did a really nice job. Looks beautiful. I just saved this fly from like a bowl of olives that I left on the side, and I don't think it can fly. I'm gonna try and like, I don't know, I feel bad for it. I'm gonna try and help it. I don't know what I'm gonna do, it's so small. But I think it's trying to like open its wings, but it's struggling. Left it pretty late to do this typesetting. Sometimes this just happens. It's like the book launch is on Saturday, so I've still got to finish just some typesetting. Like there was some misalignment with the margins, so I'm just like going through it, and then have to make another sample and send a proof to the writer, all by Saturday, and I have to like bind the books as well. So I'm filming this week and it's quite stressful, but I thought it'd be quite interesting to show, yeah, those moments when things are stressful and there's a very tight deadline, which I would say is probably about 90% of the time when you do everything on your own and you have no help. So yeah, I'm just finishing this typesetting, and then the next thing I have to do is get the approval from the writer after they've seen it, and then after that I can go to print. before I got the books letterpressed, I forgot, like, I'm this is the first time getting something letterpressed, and I don't know why. I think it's, I don't know, my brain is just, I don't know, forgets things sometimes. But I forgot to get the, like, the blurb kind of obviously printed onto the paper before I sent the paper to the letterpress in Glasgow. So I sent the paper, and then I'm like, oh no, shit, like, I've not, yeah, anyway. So I thought, sometimes this is what this is kind of my favorite part of bookbinding, though. It's like problem solving, and sometimes nice details can be added that seem a bit extra, but like sometimes nice details can be added to things when you make mistakes. And perfectionism isn't all it's kind of, I don't know, I think people can be a bit too obsessed with being perfect, and I don't know if that's where the interesting parts of doing something I don't think it comes out of perfectionism, that I don't know if I'm making any sense, but kind of reminds, like, something that I really like. I can't remember the exact term, but it's in Japanese culture, and I was reading this book on like Japanese gardens, and there is this kind of idea that I don't know if I'm kind of saying this correctly, so I'm just going to go with what I remember. But basically, if there's something like a natural rock, like in the garden, instead of moving the natural rock, you work around it and kind of make the rocks a part of the garden, and you make the rock, even though it can be disrupting what you envision or what you want from the garden, you know, maybe it's in the pathway or something, you make the rock look good. So it's kind of this idea of like, just being resourceful and accepting flaws. And I think there is something in like handmade, sort of the handmade nature of things. For me, like, I find that an incredibly grounding philosophy, especially in a world that's obsessed with perfectionism, you know, not just of you know, we're living in this world where we're obsessed, I think, with our bodies, and I don't know, there's a lot of there's this kind of crazy amount of perfectionism happening. I just don't really, I don't know, I'm not really convinced by it, to be honest. And I really like that Japanese sort of idea. Is it like a Zen idea? Maybe it's a Zen idea. Yeah, the book was really good. I can't remember the book now. I don't have it. It was like, I think I read it in like a bookshop. I didn't buy it in I didn't buy the book, but it was a really interesting book on. It's like a secondhand bookshop. I should have got the book. But that's kind of how I saw this moment. I think when I forgot about the blurb, it was like, oh, this is kind of one of those situations where there's a rock in a garden, and you sort of have to work around it and make something kind of even more beautiful and characterful from it. And that's the way bookbinding is sometimes when you're making a book. I think sometimes it's difficult to get the writer on board with that kind of philosophy sometimes. I mean, not with this book. I mean, the writer I worked with on this book, Jamie, like, he was absolutely cool with me doing that. But yeah, I think it's hard sometimes for writers when they have like a really strong concept in their minds, and it's, you know, it's very perfect maybe in their minds, etc, etc. It's hard to get them to see that, like, it's okay for there to be a rock and we can work around it. I have had that experience. Usually they come around in the end, but it can take some convincing. But it's kind of, I feel like it's kind of like a product of sort of this very, you know, perfection orientated world. So yeah, I really appreciate that about bookbinding, and I find that an incredibly grounding and reassuring belief to sort of stick by, you know, when things, because I just live in this like world where, like, you know, if everything's not going our way, or, you know, if things aren't how we, it's like, you know, I don't know if I believe that is a healthy way to live, really. So Yeah. So yeah, I just thought I'd sew it on using some stitches, which I think it's added, and I don't know, I feel like it kind of, I like adding a performance element into the books. So like when the book goes in, which I'm not going to stick it down right now because I'm going to do that after, but there is a placard that goes in with it. I can find it now. Like a little information book. On the 14th of February 1716, James Radcliffe was executed at the Tower of London for treason. His widow Anna Derwin embroidered their marital bedsheet with their hair, writing on it this dedication: "The sheet of my dear, dear lord's bed in the wretched Tower of London, February 1716. Anne C. of Derwin equals Waters." Spurred on by her grief in the aftermath of her husband's execution, Anna Maria Radcliffe sourced, circulated and crafted a range of objects that testified to her husband's virtue, heroism and sanctity. Despite the bill of attainder brought against James Radcliffe, which ensured that his personal goods and estates were forfeited to the crown, his widow acquired his execution outfit, the devotional guide that he had used to prepare his soul in the Tower, and the letters that he sent to family and friends on the eve of his death. Anne Maria secured a safe place for these objects with her only daughter, and she marked the devotional guide and letters with her own hand to establish their provenance. Most crucially of all, she acquired her husband's body, including his severed head, which was delivered by her to a temporary home at Dagenham Park. It was here that she likely cut her husband's hair that would later be used to create the bedsheet's inscription before James Radcliffe's body was embalmed and prepared for burial. History Workshop 2017. I'm sorry. And then the image there, if you can see, that is what she embroidered. So I kind of thought, like, you know, sewing, like embroidery, it's kind of adding that theme anyway. Very slightly, but, you know. So, yeah, this placard's going to go inside the book. Oh, it's really difficult bookbinding in heat, not because it's like, well, it's physical, but it's quite difficult because I'm scared of getting like sweat on the paper. Like paper just like if you like, you know, if you're hot, like with your fingers, like I'm not at all like you know, like I'm not sweating really, but it's still just really hot, so it just happens a little bit. So I'm being really careful. I know I feel a bit paranoid about that, but yeah, I'm just being super careful to not touch everything too much and like keep minimal contact. But this is the book. I'm gonna glue it in a moment. So I'm using this glue. Don't need too much glue. I remember the first time like I gave a book to a bookbinder to look at, and I asked him if it was too much glue I used, and he went, "Yeah, you've used way too much glue." So I always remember that now. I remember the judgment of that kind of elderly bookbinder when I'm gluing anything now. So yeah, that is done, and then that goes inside. It's a thicker book, this, so I'm gonna press it in the press for a bit, just to flatten it out a bit more, but the typesetting was a bit of a nightmare for this book because we needed to get it a specific way, And I'm just not a graphic designer in any way, but I feel like we did a good job, and I think it looks really beautiful. And you know what, like I always learn something from each book, and I think I learned a lot about InDesign like making this book, which I'm kind of grateful for. It was like a crash course in sort of how to use InDesign. But yeah, there's the finished book. Now I've got to bind more of them, so I'm gonna go and do that. But yeah, here's the book.
In a circle, and the text was written as like supposed to be these sort of fragmented voices speaking, but it's just going to be me reading it now.
Get them to turn that off?
Yeah, I asked Helen to turn it down. Yeah. But I'm glad that it's finally come together in book form.
Beautiful.
What a weird day to do a reading. In like insane, like, you know, oppressive, hellish heat. You were saying that you saw some people losing their minds earlier. There were people at Crew Station losing their shit.
Yeah.
There was this woman following around this enormous train. I don't know.
Just checking.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
checking.
Okay.
Never believe what
She was following this kitchen master with her phone going, "You're not helping us, you're not helping us, you're not helping us." And people were devolving into trolls. And so I thought to myself, Jamie, that's some progress. You're not involved in the fracas. You stand aside from the fracas now.
Yeah.
But maybe some of this writing comes from the fracas. I'm going to start reading and see where we get to. I know we've got other places to be and other things to think about, but the nasty parts of my sort of broken mind. But okay, there's not really a preamble. I'm just going to read it. At night I can hear snow falling in my dream. I dream of love, my enormous dream of it. I have done amazing black things for it, my mind churning with the traffic. Its cavern of silence is loud, a loud silence like a face, beyond all light and knowledge. I shut out the parts I do not like, that make me appear foolish, that carry enough weight to drown my life, that reveal the lie in which I live. As if hearing a joke in another language, I want to become a saint. What is a saint? I want to be executed for bravery. I wanted to write as if I was the snow, but I found it impossible to put my mind into the mind of snow, its clemency and birthhood.